Okay.
Up, let's start. I'm in Visio with John Gallagher, singer and bassist of Raven since 1974. So, hello, John, and thanks for accepting this interview.
Good to be here. Thank you.
So, during several weeks, listen again the discography of Raven, and in your way of singing, you often do sharp screams. Have you ever have you ever been contacted by an iPhone company to use some of them as telephone rings?
Contacted by who?
By an iPhone company?
I don't think so.
Okay. To start with, for those who don't know you, can you introduce yourself in a few words?
I'm having difficulty. What do you say?
Uh, I try to articulate. To start with, for those who don't know you, can you introduce yourself in a few words?
Yes, indeed. My name is John Gallagher from the band Raven. As you said, we formed in 1974, back in the Cretaceous era, I believe.
Okay. First time I've listened Raven was in 1994 with the album Wiped Out. At this time, I assimilated Raven as a band like Tokyo Blade, Exciter, or Trance. Do you feel close to them? And what Wiped Out evokes to you now?
Wiped Out. Well, funnily enough, we are putting out in September a box set of Wiped Out with some interesting live stuff and a different mix, a very slightly different mix. The original mix we did of the album, when we listened to it, we thought the vocals were too low. So we ran it again and just bumped the vocals up. And somehow that second mix was never used and it disappeared. And because of the way Neat Records back in the day looked after their tapes, which basically involved once the project was finished, they'd use the same tapes on the next band and on the next band. I think he used the same 3 reels of tape for every band that ever played there. So that mix was lost in time until I started going through boxes of cassette tapes and found one that was labeled incorrectly. And when I listened to it, I thought, hang on a minute, and compared and found that tape. So we've got that on. And, there's live stuff from the time, from Newcastle University and from Holland. So it's, and, there'll be some good text in there as well and a lot of cool photos. So it should be cool. But, Wiped Out was, it was a mission statement to do an album that was as crazy as we could make it at the time. And I think we succeeded.
Hmm? So the box will come in next September, if I understand well.
Yeah, September coming. Yeah.
Okay, oh, great. Okay, so your actuality is this cover of Metal Militia on the tribute album to Kill 'Em All, where we found your buzzer mark on lead vocals. How came this idea?
Well, we were asked by our record company, Silver Lining, when we signed with them. They said, we have a project we're working on. We'd like you guys to be part of it. It's a covers album of the songs off the first Metallica album. We're like, okay, what's our choice of song? That's always the hard part. And they gave us 4 songs to choose from. And we immediately said, Metal Militia, let's do that. That's the craziest one of all of them. And we had a lot of fun with the arrangement. And also a few problems. We wanted to put little parts of other songs in. And due to, that'll cost too much in video synchronization rights and all this other stuff, we kind of just had to go and do what we wanted to do without telling them. But it's I can't actually tell you in case I get in trouble, but there's a jazz intro because initially we wanted to do part of one of their other songs as an intro, and I thought, well, that's boring. Let's do a jazz version of one of their other songs. And if anyone can figure that out, I'll give them a fresh banana. There you go. But we did that, and there's, you know, the other fun thing, of course, is Mike said Mark should sing this. He's got the voice for it, and I thought, absolutely perfect. He can do a very good James Hetfield, so he did that. And, you know, we put a little bit of different stuff in the arrangement, and, you know, like you're supposed to with a cover, make it your own. And it's got the spirit of Metallica, and it's got our spirit. So I think we did a good job. It was a lot of fun, you know.
I have a doubt, but it's the first time Mark singing in lead vocals.
No, he sung actually on one of the tracks on Crash Bang Wallop, which was done at the same sessions as Wiped Out. A song called Rock Hard.
Okay.
And, you know, he's obviously a big part of things because he's got such a big voice for the backing vocals as always in there. So, you know, we normally can't keep him still long enough to sing into a microphone. He's all over the place.
Okay, so Raven was on US tour in the beginning of the year and Europe, and you'll hit the road in Europe in September. Then UK shows in November. Was the show doing well till now? And what about France?
Yeah, it's well, we are definitely looking at that, and we want to address that. It's been way too long since we played in France properly. I think we did a festival a couple of years ago down in the south, and it's not good enough. And so we're changing things so where we will be able to do that, because, you know, we've always had a great time playing in Paris, in Lyon, and the last time we substantially played France was with Saxon, and that was back in 2018, where we played, you know, Montpellier, we played, down south, Port City, down south. Come on, remember.
Pyrenean Warriors? Pyrenean Warriors, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. We did play overall maybe 4 or 5 cities in France, and it was great. The people are, you know, they've got a lot of heart. They're very passionate, and we love that. So, you know, we want to come back and do it right. So, I mean, if it's a bit close now, and we do want to add some shows in September to the ones we're doing. And it would have to be at the front end, which makes it more difficult with the time frame. But if not, then next year, yeah, we'll do.
Okay. I don't know if you saw Burning Ambition, the movie about Iron Maiden, but at the beginning we quickly see an old ticket of concert with Raven. Do you know what show it was?
Yeah, we played with Iron Maiden at the Marquee Club in London in, I believe it was early July of 1980.
Okay.
So you've probably seen there's some black and white film of Iron Maiden playing the Marquee Club when Dennis was in the band. And that was taken either the day before we played or the day after. I know that because they played 3 shows, and we opened one night, and Fist from the Northeast and Neat Records opened another. And I'm not sure who opened the 3rd night, but it was one of them. So that was our first time down in London, and it was great. It was an excellent show. The place was absolutely packed out. It was awesome.
Okay. Your other activity is the second album of Helm's Deep, Chasing the Dragon, with a new lineup. Can you talk about it? Is it just a studio project, or do you play live with this band?
Which project is?
sDeep.
Oh, Helm's Deep, yeah.
sDeep.
That was something that came from Mike, our drummer. He was basically hired to play drums and to produce pretty much. Alex, who's the main guy, it's his project of Helm's Deep. And they asked, hey, do you want to play bass on this? I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And it was very challenging. It's kind of like Iron Maiden on crack, you know. It's kind of crazy. And then, you know, Mike was unable to do the second project, so they got this guy in who I've worked with 20 years before, Ray Detone. And funnily enough, it was doing showcases with Paul Di'Anno. So Ray was playing guitar, I was playing bass. It was a 2-week project back in 1991 or 92.
With
Killers, the initial Killers thing. So it was great to be reunited with Ray, and again, very challenging. Drove me crazy because every song is in a different key. And it's like, this one's in E flat at 428 hertz, and this one is in drop D at 432 hertz. And I just said, it all just hurts. It hurts too much. I can't take it. But very proud how it come out. And I actually met up when we played New Jersey recently with Hal Aponte and Ray, which was great, you know. Very talented guys, both of them. And Alex. Alex comes up with some amazing stuff. So I certainly hope then they're not thinking of playing live with me, because that's way too hard.
Okay. So just can you introduce Alex Scortino, the singer? His voice reminds me a mix between King Diamond and John Oliver.
Yeah, that's probably a good summation. He has an unusual voice. Yeah, this deep thing going, and then he can sing very high as well. And on this most recent album, I sung a lot more backing vocals on it, and it was a good blend between the two voices, you know. So now Alex is very talented. He's got some really cool ideas, absolutely. And I think Ray did an amazing job. There's a lot of exotic instruments and sounds that are on that album that are very different, and it elevates it a little, you know.
Okay. So I suggest that we talk about your career. To start with, can you describe your first step in music? What were your influences and how did you head for bass and vocals?
Well, of early influences, you know, I'm sure it was similar in France. Back in the day, there was one TV show, and then it turned into 2 TV shows. You had Top of the Pops, and then you had the Old Grey Whistle Test, which was a show that had live music on, and you know, 70% of it was horrible. But then you would see these amazing things. You would see, I don't know, say Todd Rundgren's Utopia playing with the pyramid, with Todd jumping off, and you'd see Gary Moore, and you'd see Return to Forever, and Mahavishnu, and you know, some really disparate music all over the place. Very interesting. But a little that's about 76, 77. But when we were kids, 71, 72, it was Top of the Pops. And we were huge, and still are, huge Slade fans. That was the band that really got us going. That and Status Quo. And we get our tennis rackets and we pretend to play, you know. And then we just said, one day my brother came up with Paul Bowden, the guy from down the street, and said, we're going to form a band and you're going to play bass. Like, okay, let's do it. And at basically the same time, we saw our first real rock show, which was Slade and the opening band was the sensational Alex Harvey band. So we were ruined for life from that, because Alex Harvey was incredible and Slade were incredible, and that was a very, very good place to start, because you had real showmen who connected with the audience, and they didn't just sit and play like this. They reached out and dragged the audience into their world. That was very instrumental in how we eventually developed our band. We wanted to do that. We wanted everyone to be part of the party, to come into it. So we bothered our parents and got cheap electric guitar and bass for Christmas. And they were smart enough to say, it's on you from now on, because they saw the prices of the instruments in the stores and said, there's no way we can continue to do it. That's on you. If you sure you want to do it, great, go for it. So they were supportive, but nobody had money back in those days. It was a very, what you would call, blue collar area. We didn't know anybody with money. We didn't know anyone that had traveled. And actually, we really didn't know anybody that was in a band. So we had to figure it all out for ourselves. We played our high school, first ever date, December 1975. We did it again, maybe 3 or 4 months later. Then we rented a church hall to play. And then eventually we started playing the local pubs. And all this time going through drummers like, toilet paper, one after the other. We eventually got this guy called Mike Kenworthy, who was a bit older, a student at Newcastle University. And he had, he had some connections, and we started to play bigger pubs, and we started to play the working men's clubs, which was, the big thing, because you would play there. These people would be members, they'd get cheap beer, and in the particular area south of Newcastle, all the clubs had bands that played heavy rock. So it was perfect for us. And those bands, earlier than us, were Son of a Bitch, who became Saxon, and even Judas Priest used to play the same clubs. So Priest played them and moved on, Saxon played them and moved on, and then we played them too, and moved on from there. And it was our apprenticeship. It's where we learned to connect, reach out, grab an audience by the throat and not let go, We learned an awful lot from doing that.
Okay. So you told that Raven was formed in 1974 by you, Mark, and Paul Bowden.
Yeah.
How did you choose the name of Raven, and who found it? Who found it?
I think it was me. We all were writing lists of names, and we put them all into a hat or a jar, and we're pulling them out. And that was the name everyone thought, that's okay. Every other name everybody hated. So pure chance, really. We just picked that. And we did have enough smarts to think, Raven, well, that's got some connotations, but it's not like kill your mother, or, it wasn't like pigeonholing you as one thing. So it worked out great, And of course, there was a band called Raven that had made some records in the States back in the late 60s, but we had no idea. We didn't find out about that until 1985 or something, Which is pretty funny, because that band did an album called Live at the Inferno.
Okay.
And it's a live album. And that blew our minds. We were like, how is this possible? Because we'd never heard of them, and we did the same thing.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, very strange.
Okay, so You said that you played gigs during many years with several drummers, but I didn't find any stuff from 1974 to 1977. Do you know if any videos or audio of this era exists?
74 to 77. There's, you know, I have some cassettes, and that's it. You know,
Put it on the YouTube.
and to be honest, 74 to 77. I have a hilarious rehearsal in my mum and dad's house in the front room where we were taking turns at playing the drums. It's terrible. It's very funny. My first wife, I believe, might still have a cassette of our second ever show. Maybe. That's pretty funny as well. Bad quality. And I don't think there's anything until 76. I have a tape of the third show we ever did, which was at a church hall, which isn't terrible. And we had a guy called Dave Allen playing drums. He was an older guy, very good drummer, very like Ian Pace. But he literally played one show and then disappeared. You know, we never saw him again. So, no. And I think I have a show from 79 of us playing a club, a working men's club. So I think the first real bootleg of Raven is a show from 1980 at Wallsend, where we actually opened for the Tigers of Pantang. It was John Sykes' first show. Okay. I remember that. So that is out there. But previous to that, no. And certainly no video. Nobody we knew had enough money to have a video camera, that's for sure.
Okay. So the oldest thing that I could listen is a demo of 1978 with Chant on drums. It's your only recording with two guitars. If I'm not wrong, none of this song were used later. Can you explain why?
Yeah, it was basically that the place where we rehearsed. It was like storage rooms for an art center. And they had somebody working there that was doing some kind of college degree, doing recording, and they wanted a band to record. So I said, oh, we'll do that. And they had a 4-track recorder, and they set it up, and we played live, and that was it. Boom. And we really just wanted it because we didn't think we had enough great songs. We just wanted a marker, a record of what we were doing, so we could listen back and critique it and do better the next time around. So, and you know, the songs are a little bit here, a little bit there, but there's germs, you know, the seeds of what we were going to become hidden in there. So I think that we just kept writing and eventually wrote better songs. That's why none of them were ever used. But it's obviously historically very interesting to listen back to that now. And that was another tape that had disappeared for 30 years and found it in the box. The magic box of tapes, yeah.
Okay. So, Rob Hunter joined the band in 1979 and Raven became a trio in 1980. Can you talk about Rob's entrance and how came the idea to strike cymbal with OK mask?
What about the last part? What did you say?
The last part, can you talk about Rob's entrance and how came the idea to strike cymbals with OK mask?
Well, we were, you know, Sean Taylor had left the band, and a friend of ours who worked at a music store, Des, had said, I know a guy. You know, we put an ad out and hadn't heard. I think we maybe rehearsed 1 or 2 guys. It wasn't good. And Des had said, I know a guy. and Rob came to the rehearsal with his drums. And while we were waiting for my brother to arrive, we just set up and started jamming. And immediately, boom, like, wow, I'm doing stuff, he's doing stuff, and it's linking. And we're, it's like playing catch. You throw a ball, the ball comes back. It's like there was an instant ESP. We knew that this was cool. Mark came in, we jammed, and it was immediate. It's like, yeah. And at that time, we had Paul Bowden had left the band. We had a guy called Pete Shaw playing guitar, and it wasn't working. So we told him, sorry, not happening. You got to leave. And we decided to go as a three-piece, which was scary at first. We're like, wow, this just us three. But very quickly, we realized it was a huge advantage. We had more space. My brother became a better guitar player in about 5 days. It was amazing to watch. He just branched out and went crazy. And me and Rob were doing, we were talking about, Jimi Hendrix and Rush and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, all these three pieces that did all crazy music, all different, but there was a theme in there of being tight, but also experimenting and, improvising. And it was very exciting. And we started writing a lot of songs very quickly. And it was, Rob was the catalyst. Lots of ideas. He played guitar. He came up with songs and riffs and lyrics. And, it was really the three of us melded together as one. And it was very special,
Okay. So it seems Ozzy Osbourne helped you to record the first single, Don't Need Your Money. Can you tell us this story?
Well, we'd done the single, and that had happened because we played a local gig in Newcastle at Bambra's Music Hall. And the manager of the Tigers of Pantang was in the audience, and he came up afterwards and said, I really enjoyed the show. How would you guys like to cut a single with Neat Records? And we're like, yes, let's do that. And everything went from then on. We cut the single. It got great reviews. It was played on BBC Radio 1, the John Peel show. This was a DJ who played new music no matter what he thought of it. He'd just go, here's a new song by whoever. And Ozzy Osbourne was listening to the radio and said, who's that band? I want them. I want them to open for me. So we got a call, and next thing we know, we're playing Newcastle Mayfair, Sunderland Mayfair, Middlesbrough Town Hall, and then down to London to play the Hammersmith Odeon. So incredible, incredible. So from playing working men's clubs to playing with Ozzy Osbourne in the space of a couple of months was really special,
Okay. So 1981, Raven finally released Rock Until You Drop, the first album. Do you remember how did you live it when it came out?
Yeah, the album, it was recorded over quite a period of time. Like, we'd go in for a couple of days and then we wouldn't go in for a couple of weeks. It's pretty funny talking to Steve Thompson, who was the producer on it. Basically, we were so intense and crazy, he couldn't take it for longer than 2 days. So he said, book them out later. I can't do that right now. It's really funny. But what was good about that is you did a bit and then you could come back and listen and have some perspective and go, can I change that guitar solo, or can we change the vocal and, make it better. So it took a while, and I remember things like, you know, we wanted a marching sound for the start of Rock Until You Drop. And what that was is we got these plastic cups and they had a stone bathroom. So we threw about 3,000 plastic cups on the floor and we all marching and mic'd it up. And when the guy, Dave Wood from the studio, found out we'd used up all his plastic cups, he was very upset. But it was, you know, the studio was very basic. You had to do things like that. And, you know, we had sound effects records that we got all the aeroplane noises for Tyrant of the Airways. And, you know, the studio was just a board, a reverb unit, and one echo unit, and that was it. There was nothing else.
So you talk about the Tyrant of the Airways. This is one of the best Raven song, in my opinion, but it seems you don't play it live since a long time. Can you explain why? And can you explain why you came out these tracks of your set?
Can you explain?
Why Tyrant of the Airway is not in your set anymore since a long time?
Well, we'll you know, you visit these songs. We played Chant of the Airways on tour in 2022 here in the
Okay.
States. So we did like 40 dates with it. And it's fun to play. It's great to play. You know, we've got but that was only here in America. So we'll have to put it in set when we come to Europe at some point. That's true. It's difficult. Obviously, the longer you go on, we have more and more songs. And it's, you know, the songs we feel we have to play. We are a vibrant current band. We write music and, you know, it's good music. We keep getting better in my view. So we want to play new music. And then there's a small part of the set where it's like, okay, what are we going to do here that we didn't do last year or we didn't, you know, we haven't done. So for instance, this year we've been playing For the Future off the first album, which we'd never played in 30 years.
Okay.
So that was fun. And Pick Your Window off the Life's a Bitch album, which we'd never played live before ever. So we try to do stuff like that and, you know, mix it up every time.
Mm.
But Tyrant of the Airways was it was a big deal for me. I wrote most of it, and that was the first time I got to use an 8-string bass, because the quiet part in the middle is 8-string bass, and it was a revelation because I could do what was in effect bass and guitar at the same time, and my brother could play guitar on top of it, and that was a kind of a unique sound, you know.
Okay. Okay. So on the album Rock Until You Drop, the album contains a short instrumental, 3940. What is the sense of this title?
Yeah, that was we just had the idea of putting a little interlude, you know, a little quiet thing. I was always playing a classical guitar, or trying to at least, and came up with this little instrumental, which the guys had christened More Ale Landlord because it sounded like we were in a medieval pub, you know, drinking beer. But we ended up naming it after the 2 buses we took into town from where we lived. We used to take the 39 or the 40. Don't ask me why that was the name of the song, but there you go. And that was fun. I played the classical. I played a couple of little overdubs of that. Played a fretless bass for the first time. Somebody brought a fretless bass in. I played that on it, and it was a great little setup for the future, which came right after it.
Okay. So 1982, the EP's Crash Bang Wallop is released. I would like you to talk about the band Wallop, who took his name from this title. They made a cover of the song with you on vocals, and you performed it live with them on two shows in Germany, I guess. Can you tell about your experience with this band?
With which band?
Wallop,
Oh, what, the band Wallop?
the band
Oh,
Wallop, yes.
yeah, they've obviously been Raven fans for a long time, and they've covered the song. And I think it was 2 years ago they opened for us and asked me to get up and sing the song with them, which we weren't playing it. So sure, we went and done that. Nice guys, good guys, yeah.
Okay. So, Wiped Out is released in 1982. It contains another of my favorite track, To the Limit, to the Top. If I understand well, you compare alpinism with the will to grow in a metal band, or I'm wrong, maybe?
What about that? To the limit, to the top?
To the Limit, to the Top, yes.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about the song. The song was, we wanted to do an epic, like a Tyrant of the Airways thing, and I had some more 8-string bass ideas. That's 8-string bass at the beginning and in the middle. And we had the song right up until the solo, after the solo. So the solo's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, I believe. You got the part that goes that part, and then we stopped. I went, okay, tea break. Let's get a cup of tea and think about what we're going to do next. So I had the acoustic piece 2021, with it was a that melody. But let's put that in, played by the band, and then go back to the start of the song, have another verse, another chorus, come back to that melody to finish it off. Worked out great, And we have played that live for the first time, which was back in, I think that was 2022. We did the Wiped Out album in its entirety.
Anniversary?
We played it all the way through, yeah.
Okay. So we arrive at the end of this first session. I suggest we make a little cut, and then I send you a new link in 5 minutes.
Okay, no problem. Very good.
Okay, thanks.
See you then.